What's the old saying? Revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, cash flow is king. I want you to meet James and Nick. They run a terrific business importing tequila from Mexico to Australia. Business is good, growth is good, cash flow is awful, and it's really affecting their business. So we sent our finance expert, Julia Bickerstaff, in to lend a hand.
It must have still cost a lot to set this business up in the first place. How did you fund it?
Essentially, it was a crowdfunding exercise, so there was about probably a dozen investors contributing small amounts of capital to kick us off.
So how long does the first bit take? How long does it take to actually fill the bottle?
Really, once the agave is cut out of the ground, the process is quite speedy. Yeah.
For the Blanco, which is the unaged
tequila.
tequila.
For the Blanco tequilas.
So it goes onto the ship, lands at the port, and then it goes into a bonded warehouse, which is just a warehouse that's got a special licence from the government to be essentially a tax-free zone.
And how much does a bottle retail at? So what percentage of what you get is?
It retails for about $60, and by the time it gets into the consumer's hand, or the drinker's hand, it's about $28 in taxes between GST, excise tax and import duty. So you've got to chop that last $32 up into quite a few pieces before it actually gets into someone's hand.
So how many months are you roughly sort of funding a bottle of tequila for then?
Our aim for our first shipment was to get rid of our first container in a year, which we did. So, we're talking about that last bottle we sold, we paid for it over 12 months before we actually got it.
And so how are you managing the cash at the moment?
When we take a pallet out of tequila, that's about $15,000 in excise tax. So you've got to pay that to customs before they let you take it out of the warehouse. You then deliver it to the wholesaler, who will then sell it to the bars. But they don't pay you, depending on the wholesaler, anywhere between sort of 30 to 90 days.
So you've got 90 days, let's say, when you've had to finance that 15,000.
Yep.
Plus the tequila in the bottle and the bottle itself.
Plus your sales.
Yeah.
Our tequila.
And so how have you? And so do you have a bank loan, or do you?
We had an overdraft, and that sort of helped for a little bit.
How have the banks been with you about funding this?
We've got more runs on the board now than when we were granted our facility from the bank, and they've become less and less supportive as it's gone on. It's actually pretty disappointing.
Have you gone around to different banks?
We're just about to change because we're changing to a debtor finance facility.
How did you come across the debtor finance facility, and how does it work for you?
What debtor financing does is they will lend you money against your invoices. So on that, we'll pay the $15,000 in taxes, and then we'll give it to the wholesaler. We'll give them an invoice for $30,000, and then the debtor financer will forward us 80% of that money the next day, and then they'll pay us the last 20% when the invoice is actually paid.
As you grow, that cash flow hole is going to get bigger.
Yeah.
Because the more you sell, the bigger the hole gets.
Yeah,
and that's often what people don't realise. They think it's going to get better when you sell more, but actually it doesn't.
No.
So something like debtor finance is going to really work for you because, it works to the fact that you are growing. Whereas if you had a loan, the loan isn't going to grow with
Goes up to the top,
absolutely.
stays at the top.
If the Maryvale group here in Sydney called me up and said we want to order a container of your tequila, which I hope they do at some point, we'd have to turn around and okay, that's awesome. How the hell are we going to get the money to get it out of bond? It's.
And this obviously doesn't solve all the problems because you get the money a couple of days after you pay the taxes, not before you pay, because you have to actually give them the stock and give them an invoice. And you can't get the stock out until you pay the taxes, but it does.
So that's where you could have, if you had a facility and explained that to a bank that listens, that actually you need this facility, it's a 2 or 3 day facility and you need it every 3 months or however often it is that you'd need it, there's no risk to them. And I think sometimes it's just presenting it to them in that way so that they understand it because, for you, this is how your business works. But for them, they don't understand how your business works.